Welcome everyone to Info Session for the AccelerateIP program. Before we start, we would like to acknowledge that we are situated on the traditional, ancestral, and ceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We're privileged to work and play on these beautiful lands. On our agenda today, we have first welcome and introductions by our program director, Rachel, and then we'll go over the program, we'll go over all the streams, and we will quickly go over the program workflow, and we'll move on to the intakes for the next fiscal year. And we have some application tips for you. We'll go over those, and then frequently asked questions that we have gathered throughout the year. And if we have time at the end, we'll go over Q&A. But if you have any questions throughout the session, please use the Q&A box, and we will answer throughout the session. And now pass it on to Rachel.
Thanks, Jella. Welcome, everybody. So nice to have you here today. We're excited to share about the program. Before we move along, just wanted to share that this program is generously supported by Innovation, Science, and Economic Development Canada. So thanks so much to ISED for supporting this program. So about AccelerateIP. So we're part of the Elevate IP initiative, which is a federally funded initiative, and it's a Canada-wide program. Our program covers specifically British Columbia, Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. It's run by New Ventures BC in close collaboration with Innovate BC as our prime collaborator. And we also have additional partners and collaborators throughout the regions to support you. So here on these slides, we have all of our partners and collaborators. This is important because if you want to receive mentorship in the program, or if you need help with your application, these partners on the left-hand side are folks that can help you. So if you want, you can get connected to one of our accelerator partners, and that also helps you with your application. So I encourage you to look into their programming and see if you want to get connected. There's some in almost every region of the province and the territory. So there should, and if there isn't one in your region, New Ventures BC also does virtual mentorship and can support you from your region. The NVBC team, so our team is here to support you. We have all the folks listed on the screen, and here today we have Chella, program manager, as well as Angie is our executive director. We have Susan, who is our awesome IP director. Myself, I'm program director, but also throw myself in all different kinds of positions, doing program management and stuff like that, and marketing. Liz is our awesome bookkeeper. We got Bradley as our program manager for education. Clara is our awesome program coordinator who's here today. We have Mackenzie, marketing coordinator as well. Also, we have Sheila on the Innovate BC side as managing director. We have Supreet as program manager. Kathy is here today as program specialist, and Caroline as well, who's today as program coordinator. So we have an awesome team. We're all here to help. And when you try to reach us, if you email our general contact info box, you will get one of us and we will be triaging your email. So that's usually the best way to contact us so we can make sure it goes to the right person. Okay, so program overview.
Okay.
Oh, next. Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. So program overview will go over the streams. So our program has 3 streams. Stream 1, focusing on education and awareness. That includes IP certification program, IP events, online courses, and resources. Stream 2, focusing on IP strategy. It has 2 tiers. Tier 1 is one-on-one IP mentorship, and Tier 2 support with legal code. And Stream 3 is focusing on IP implementation, that supporting with legal codes as well. So this is the IP implementation of the IP strategy you have. And who is this program for? So we have general program eligibility requirements. And on top of these requirements, each stream has some progressive requirements in addition to these criteria as well. At the very minimum, startups need to be based in British Columbia, Yukon, Northwest Territories, or Nunavut, have fewer than 500 full-time employees, being a tech startup, That means having an innovative technology and or operate in technology sector. And startups must have or own the right to use their intellectual property in Canada. So nonprofit organizations may also apply as long as they meet the criteria above. I will pass it on to Clara to go over stream one.
Perfect. Thanks, Chala. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I will be chatting about our very first stream, which is stream one, IP education and awareness. We do have a lot of offerings within the stream, notably our IP events. They are open to everyone, and you can register on our website, linked here, or partner websites that also host events as a partner of Accelerate IP. Some events that have happened in the past are Tech and Toast breakfasts with Venture Labs. If you're up in the Yukon, Tech Yukon also has some great events that happen throughout the year. So stay tuned for that. Another offering we have, our online course, is an online IP fundamentals course. This is self-led, so you can do that around your own time, and you can enroll on our website as well. Another great thing that we have is our Accelerate IP resource library. Here you can find resources that can teach you a little bit more about certain types of IP. If you have an advisor that wants to learn a little bit more about IP, we can also direct them there. And then notably, one large offering that we have within Stream 1 is our IP certification program. And as long as you meet the general eligibility guidelines that Chala had just mentioned, we do take you on a rolling basis, and you do have to commit to the full length of the cohort to pass the exam. Just to go into a little more detail about the IP certification program, it is a 4-day intensive deep dive into IP. And some topics include data basics, IP ownership, IP layering, licensing, and enforcement. We do have in-person and virtual cohorts, and they usually hover between 15 to 20 participants, which is a nice intimate size that really allows for deep discussion. On top of the general eligibility that Chala mentioned, we do ask that only one person per company can participate in the program one time. And for a successful certification, it does fulfill the education requirement that we've added for the upcoming intakes for Stream 2.2 and Stream 3. And some upcoming cohorts, we do have one in January. This one is virtual and it's open to self-identified women and non-binary founders. We are also accepting individuals into the April cohort of next year, and that one is also virtual. And this one has no limitations on who can be a part of that cohort. So make sure you apply because applications are open for Stream 1. And then if you are a company that has already participated, but some of your colleagues or employees want to participate in IP certification, we have an equivalent program called IP Pathways. This is delivered through the BC IP strategy. And because of this, this is only offered to BC-based companies. And so if you are a part of a BC-based company, you can apply to be a part of the IP Pathways. Just some key differences. It is 4 sessions twice a week instead of 4 consecutive days, and they are shorter sessions. So they're only about 60 to 90-minute virtual sessions. So IP Pathways is only virtual. And if you prefer to engage in more self-studying outside of live sessions, I think IP Pathways is a really good fit. And again, if you are a company that has already participated in the Accelerate IP certification program, you can have your employees apply for the IP Pathways for them to get their IP certification. And just a note, you do have to have separate registrations for each person. You won't be able to kind of tag along 3 people on one application just because we want to make sure that each person gets their own certification. And we do have upcoming cohorts for IP Pathways in January, February, and March. And we can provide the link about how to apply for IP Pathways. I'm going to pass it on to Chala, who's going to be talking. Oh, not yet. It's still me. For Stream 2.1, this is our second stream. Here we have 2 tiers. There's IP strategy and IP mentorship. 2-1 is for mentorship, and you can apply and get up to 8 hours of one-on-one mentorship with a business mentor, and you would apply via the same application portal on a rolling basis as well. Mentorship includes, but is not limited to, reviewing your IP commercialization strategy, assessing your IP strategy within a business context, and helping you hire or work with a legal service provider and prepare for a meeting. A quick note that this is not formal IP strategy. It's more so business strategy and how IP can tie into that. And we do want to note that you are working with business mentors and not lawyers. So our business mentors are not able to give you legal advice, but they will share, of course, based on their expertise and experience, how you can leverage IP into your business strategy. And we will pair you with a mentor that is part of an accelerator. So if you're already part of an accelerator, you can let us know and we can make sure we pair you up with somebody perhaps you're familiar with. But if you are not with an accelerator, that is no issue at all. We will make sure to pair you depending on usually your location and also depending on what sector you fall into. Now I will pass it off to Chala for Stream 2-2.
Thanks, Clara. Okay, so Stream 2, Tier 2, we're still in IP strategy stream, but this time it's support with legal costs. You can receive support covering 75% of strategy services with a registered legal service provider, up to $25,000. And this percentage is 90% if your startup majority owned by indigenous people. And 25% and 10% is the co-investment from the applicant. Applications are through the application portal. And this year we have made an update in the selection process. So we're no longer accepting selecting applicants on a rolling basis, but this will be a competitive process because we receive so many applications and we want to be as fair as possible. Applicants will be selected based on eligibility criteria, evaluation criteria for Stream 2-2, and program priorities. And Stream 3 is IP implementation support with legal costs. The structure of this stream is very similar to Stream 2, Tier 2. This stream, you receive support covering 75% of eligible IP implementation services with your legal service provider, this time up to $60,000. Applications again through the portal, and applicants selected based on eligibility criteria, evaluation criteria, and program priorities. And Stream 3 also has a selection committee with the IT experts that are reviewing startup applications as well. Eligibility criteria for Stream 2 and 3, they're mostly very similar, except that for Stream 3, we expect startups to be incorporated, while Stream 2, startups must be registered. As well, for Stream 3, only we expect all the startups to have an existing IP strategy. So if you don't have a strategy, please consider Stream 2 first. And for both streams, startups must meet general eligibility requirements that we mentioned before, must have an eligible quote. This is important because previously we have received applications without quotes. Quote is an important, is required for the application. Intention to grow in Canada, and must demonstrate IP knowledge. So for both streams, we expect startups to have a strong IP knowledge. And this is an update for Stream 2. So you can fulfill this requirement by either providing a proof of completion or registration for Stream 1 certification program or an equivalent training such as IP Pathways that Clara mentioned. Or you can also provide a proof of completion of Level 2 of IRAP IP Assist, which is a separate program. Level 1 won't be eligible. Or you can also show a proof of having at least one in-house IP expert. We will go over this section later in the application tips section on how to provide a proof for IP knowledge. And as I mentioned, selection is during the selection process, we consider program priorities and evaluation criteria. We have this information on our website and program guideline, but I'll quickly go over. Our program priorities are startups majority owned by underrepresented groups, involvement in the priority sectors, including health tech, clean tech, data tech. If you're an existing client of our program partners or collaborators, and regional applicants outside of Metro Vancouver and Victoria. And for evaluation, overall strength of your application is very important. Potential commercial value of IP assets, benefits from the support from the program, which will be evaluated through the intake form that we have. And for Stream 3, only strength of the IP strategy. And for the eligible services, for stream 2 versus stream 3, I'm not going to go over the whole list here. Again, you have this list in the program guidelines, but few important things to note. Stream 2 services focusing on IP strategy, stream 3 IP implementation, such as patent, trademark, industrial design, application, and prosecution. Also, there is legal contractual drafting. I want to emphasize the importance of this. Drafting must be directly connected or primarily in support of your IP strategy. We will have a section on the intake form for you to explain how drafting is connected to your IP strategy as well. So it's not just any contractual drafting. And if the service that you want to apply is not within this list, it will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and there's no guarantee. As long as it is not within the ineligible cost, we cannot make any exceptions for ineligible costs. That include ongoing licensing fees, infringement-related costs, litigation costs, any renewal and maintenance fees, and costs associated with repayments or refinancing and existing debt, and incorporation fees. Okay, that was the program overview. So now we're going to move on to program workflow overview from the very beginning of the application process until the project completion, if your application is approved. The first thing first, obtain a quote. As I mentioned, it's an eligibility requirement. Eligible applicants determine the services required and request a quote from their service provider. The quote will be free of charge. So if you're charged for a quote, please contact us. And then once you have a quote, you can fill all the application tasks. We have all the application questions, upload your quotes, and then submit an application. You have an option to add a collaborator to your application. This could be your mentor, this could be your colleague or co-founder. This is just for you to collaborate on application. This won't affect the review process, and collaborators that you're adding to your application can edit and see all the answers that you have. Once the review process starts, there won't be any more application submission, and we review all the application based on the selection criteria, evaluation criteria, and applicants are reviewed by program team and selection committee for stream 3. After the review process, all the applicants are notified with their results, and if approved applicants receive an award letter. Award letter outlines approved services, which we might sometimes partially approve some applications, so approved services, project timelines, and maximum funding amounts. And once you sign your application, your service provider also messages via email with all the award details. And once you sign your application, you are able to add your service provider as a recommender to your application so that they can upload the necessary documents. We use the word recommender because it's a hard-coded language to the application portal and we cannot change it, but this recommenders won't be able to access your application. It is just for them to upload necessary documents or answer any additional questions we might have. And step 6, once all the services are completed, the service provider submits the invoices directly to the portal. So there's 2 invoices, one for the program and one for startup co-investment amounts. And applicants submit a proof of payment for their co-investment amounts and complete the required program survey. Once everything is done, you review all the documents, you make sure the invoice amounts, services included, and the date match whatever was approved in the award letter. And if everything looks good, we proceed with the payment process, and payments processed directly to your service provider within 2 to 4 weeks. Okay, so that is the full workflow overview. Now we move on to intake for the next fiscal year. So this fiscal year is government fiscal year and starts April 2025 until March 2026, which is also the end date for the program. Stream 1 and Stream 2-1 applications continues to be rolling and open. And Clara mentioned for certification, we have 2 upcoming cohort, one in January, one in April. Applications are open for those ones. And IP mentorship applications are open until spots are filled. We have made some updates on Stream 2 and 3 intake and waitlisting process. So we will have 2 intakes for this fiscal year. And first intake, there won't be any waitlist. And if unsuccessful applicants will need to reapply for the second intake. And if there are any unused funds from the approved applicants, it will roll over to the second intake. And second intake, we will have a waitlist. And if there are unused funds, they will be reallocated to the waitlisted applicants. So each intake will have a fixed project start and end date, as well as fixed project duration, which is 3 months for Stream 2-2 and 6 months for Stream 3. There won't be any extensions allowed, but if your project is shorter than that, we can complete your project shorter and the payments will process earlier. Having said that, the intake dates for Stream 2-2 and Stream 3. The intake 1, applications will open January 14 until February 10 for Stream 2-2, and the project start date is April 1st until June 30th for Stream 3. Applications are already open, and it will stay open until January 23rd for the project starting on April 1st until September 30th. And intake 2 for both streams will open on May 1st until May 29th, and the project start date is September 1st, and 3 months is for Stream 2, 6 months for Stream 3. Okay, now we have some application tips for the upcoming intake. These are from our suggestions and also the mistakes that we have seen over the past few years. First step is make sure you're eligible. As you mentioned, there's general eligibility requirements and also stream-specific eligibility requirements. For Stream 2-2 and 3, once you create a new application, the first and only form that you see will be the specific eligibility form. And if you're not eligible based on that form, you won't be able to see the remaining application questions. However, you are still able to submit your eligibility form, which might be misleading, and we receive an incomplete application and it will be declined. So please read the questions carefully and make sure you don't see that you're not eligible for the program. Fine, and if you're not eligible, please apply for a program that you're eligible for. And the other important thing to mention here, if you're a startup applying with BC Tech, please apply through BC Tech's Scale-Up Accelerator program, which is a different application platform. Second, demonstrate your IP knowledge. This is an eligibility requirement for both Stream 2-2 and Stream 3. What to include in order to demonstrate your IP knowledge. So first, if you have an in-house IP expert, you can include their CV or LinkedIn page. It must show their IP background and or IP education. And no external consultants or IP consults are eligible for the in-house expert at the IP knowledge. Or if you have completed IRAP IP asset level 2, you can include an email screenshot from your ITA confirming the completion, or you can also include a final report. For certification program, if you are certified, please include a copy of your certificate. If you're not certified yet, you can include an email screenshot showing cohort enrollment with dates. We need to see which cohort you're enrolled. And also it's important to note that if you're not certified yet, you can apply with the registration, with the email screenshot. However, you will need to show your certificate before your project start date. Tip number 3, avoid common application portal mistakes. This is something we come across a lot. The submit button is easily overlooked by the applicants. So for for each application stage, we have different tasks. So for example, in the screenshot, we see that there's program funding agreement and acknowledgement as two tasks, and the green check mark you see next to funding agreement, that means that task is completed. And we are in the acknowledgement task. When we click mark as complete, it will create this green check mark next to acknowledgement, but it doesn't mean that the application is submitted. You still need to click the submit button in addition to all these mark as complete buttons. So even if you complete all the tasks before, unless you click the submit button, we won't receive your application. And another important aspect of the portal, as we mentioned, working with a program partner and collaborator is a program priority. And we ask in the application questions whether you are working with any program partner and collaborator. If you answer yes, then you will be able to see this new task, which is called client confirmation, where you request a recommendation from the point of contact of your partner organization. You can click here for the list of points of contact. And we wanted to bring this up because we see some applicants add their service provider as a recommender here. But this section is only for partner and collaborator organizations that you're working with. Okay, I will pass it on to Caroline for the next step. So actually, there's one more for me too. So in order to strengthen your answers, so we receive a lot of applications, and the strength of your application is very important. So please be specific and avoid generic answers. Include a website or pitch deck if available to increase the strength of your application. And for stream 3, it's very important that you demonstrate that you have a strong IP strategy. And lastly, review your answers before submitting, especially if you're reusing the answers from your previous application. And the portal has this tool function just to save you some time. If you have submitted an application before, you can reuse the data from the previous application through the reuse data button, and you can select the previous instance that you see the form. And before you submit, just make sure all the applications are up to date, they're answering the question that we ask in order to have a stronger application. Okay, now I can pass it to Caroline.
Thanks, Chala. Hello, everyone. So this is where you choose the right service provider. We actually updated our website because before we used to list the list of organizations registered on our program, and then now we switch it to individuals. So if you don't have a service provider, that's the place where you go, and then you can search if you know the name, or if you are looking for a specific company or city, you can just type on the search box, or you can filter by industry, by province, or you can even check the box lawyer, patent agent, or trademark agent, and then find someone to work with you on the application. Or if you already have a service provider, however, is not listed on our website, this person can register. The link for the registration form is available on the website. However, they need to meet the following criteria, which is must be located in Canada. Service providers located in the US will be considered on a case-by-case basis and must have well-developed and demonstrated expertise in intellectual property, and also must have agents or lawyers registered with CIPARA, Class 1 or 2, or be licensed to practice law in Canada. So please ask them to register before you apply. In that way, it's going to avoid delays when we are reviewing the application. And next slide. Yeah, so when you are working with the service provider, you need to request a code, and that code needs to align with our guidelines. So we do have this information on the intake form, and then you'll be able to see what we are looking for, which is the code should contain the service provider details, the list of services must be eligible for stream 2-2 or 3, depends on what you are applying for. And then details are required for each eligible activity. We are not going to approve non-specific legal budget requests. We're going to show an example in the next slide, but then it will make more sense. All the price must be in Canadian for each line, and then at the bottom, the total. If you are working with a US service provider, please, they need to show the amount in US and then the conversion in Canadian. And it has to show the taxes, if applicable, so a line for before tax and after tax, and project start and end date. And please note, as Charles already mentioned, we are not gonna approve an extension, so it's a 3 months for stream 2-2 and 6 months for stream 3. And then in the next slide, that's how it looks, the code. This is a template. It's not mandatory to follow exactly the same template, but we request to have all the mandatory information. So as we have here, the service provider details, startup details, and then the project start date and end date. The services, for example, this is an activity for stream 3. The activity is patent application, but then we asked to specify, for example, preparing and filing US patent application for, so please provide us more details. And then estimated completion date for that activity. And then also our hourly rate, estimated number of hours, other costs if applicable, and then have the total at the end for each activity. And then at the bottom, the subtotal, the line for the tax, for example, if applicable, GST, PST, and then the total. And then at the bottom, the signature of service provider responsible for the work. We also share this template with the service provider when they apply. So please, before uploading the quote in the portal, make sure it matches to the information that we are looking for. Thanks, Chala. Pass on to you.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. Okay, last section we have is frequently asked questions. So we'll go over the questions that we gathered now. The first section is questions we received on the eligibility aspect. First question is, do I have to complete the program streams in order? It is recommended to complete them in order. However, as long as you meet the eligibility requirements for each stream, you can apply to any of the streams. As mentioned, for stream 2, strategy streams, we expect you to have an IP knowledge, and for stream 3, we expect you to have an IP strategy. But yes, as long as you don't have to follow through all the streams, but you need to show that you meet all the eligibility requirements. I am located in Ontario. Can I still apply to AccelerateIP? The Elevate IP program has recipients across Canada. So if your startup is based in Ontario, please apply to the recipient that is covering the region that your startup is based. So AccelerateIP covers BC, Nunavut, Yukon, Northwest Territories. I completed stream 2 and 3 in the past, but reapplying this intake. Do I still need the certification program for the eligibility? Yes, you do, unless you have an in-house IP expert or completed IP at this level 2. So completing stream 2 and 3 alone is not an eligible activity. You still need IP knowledge demonstration. Or can I apply to stream 2-2 and stream 3 more than once? Yes, you can apply more than once if you haven't maxed out funding. The max funding is $25,000 for stream 2-2 and $60,000 for stream 3 throughout the duration of the program. So from when we launch until March 2026, and this max funding does not reset every year. Next section is application questions. How do I register for the IP certification programs? Clara mentioned this earlier. Please join the waitlist through the application portal for each program. And we will reach out to you once a spot becomes available to confirm your spots in the cohort. I already have existing external IP mentor. Can I apply to Stream 2-1 with my mentor? Yes, you can. So again, Clara mentioned this earlier. As long as the mentor you're applying for is eligible for IP mentorship and working with a partner or collaborator organization associated with our program. So mentors in this program are either trained to provide IP mentorship or they have an extensive IP background. And if you don't have an existing mentor, we will match your application with a program partner or Neuroventure BC to connect you with your mentor. Can I apply for up to $85,000 by combining Stream 2-2 and Stream 3 funding? This is a question we receive a lot. No, we don't allow combining the funding for two streams. The budget is separate and you need to apply separately for Stream 2 and 3. Okay, I'll pass it on to Kathy.
Thanks, Chala. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So I will share the most common questions we receive about service providers. So the first question is, my service provider is not listed in the registered list. Can I still apply? And the answer is yes, but your service provider must be registered in the with the AccelerateIP program. So they need to fill out the registration form as soon as possible because, as Carol mentioned, it might be delay the process on the application reviewing. So applicants can submit their application, but we won't review the application until the service providers fill out the form. Second question is, can I file an international pattern or work with a service provider in the US? The answer is yes, but we prefer Canadian lawyers, and also you can work with a US service provider, but we will review it on a case-by-case basis, as the team mentioned before. And the lawyer must be registered with the AccelerateIP, and also we require to submit the quotes on Canadian dollars and also payments and all the invoices as well. The third question is, can I work with a service provider outside of Canada and US? The answer is unfortunately no. As we mentioned, we prefer Canadian service providers and also US service providers, review on a case-by-case basis. Fourth question is, can I work with two service providers? The answer is yes, but please, when you submit your application, on the application form, combine the two quotes on just one document. And then if the application is approved, we will ask you to submit two separate applications for each service provider. And the next slide, it's about services for Stream 2 and Stream 3. So first question, can a startup get support for an in-house activities related to IP? The answer is unfortunately no. In-house activities are not eligible for AccelerateIP program because the program only it's able to pay service providers directly. We cannot reimburse the startups. Second question is, my services are taking longer than expected for X reason. Can I request an extension? As we mentioned before, the answer is no. No extensions are allowed for AccelerateIP program, and the project must meet the timeline requirements, which is 3 months for Stream 2-2 and 6 months for Stream 3. And regardless of the reason, including matters outside of your control. Third question is, do you accept retroactive services for Stream 2-2 and Stream 3? The answer is yes, we do, but just please know that invoices must remain unpaid, and services must be between April 2025 and March 2026. And unfortunately, we cannot reimburse the startups, so that's why the invoices must remain unpaid, and we will pay directly to service providers. And the next slide, it's about the co-investment structure. So the question is the question is, I cannot read the question, but the answer is actually how the co-investment structure work. And the answer is, in this case, startups must pay the 25% or 10% in case it's majority owned by indigenous people. And AccelerateIP can cover up to $25,000 for Stream 2-U and $60,000 for Stream 3. And if the bill is higher, for example, on the last table is 89, so the max that can AccelerateIP can cover is 60,000, and the rest must be paid from the startup to the service provider. And I'll pass it back to you, Rachel.
Thanks, Kathy. So we just have a few asks as well. Just letting you know, so it really helps if you can to please respond promptly to any communication or follow-up requests from our team, and always within the given time to ensure timely processing of your application. And also, if we don't hear from you from a long time, we might not think you're still interested in the program. And we're under a lot of constraints with our fiscal year to allocate as much as we can. So we really appreciate you letting us know quickly, so that we can administer the program as most efficiently as we can. We ask that you please do not share any confidential or sensitive information via email. We don't want to receive your strategy reports or your any IP details or confidential details via email. We want to protect your privacy, and that's for your lawyer to review or your service provider. So please don't send that to us. If we do receive any confidential information, we will just delete it. So getting your application earlier. So someone did ask in the questions, we're not like, if you submit earlier, you don't have a better chance of getting approved just because you got it in earlier, because none of our applications are rolling anymore. That would only be maybe for mentorship. Those are still rolling. So say we filled up, it's better to get it in earlier in case we fill. Or for education, I would say get that in earlier, as it's not competitive, it's more based on eligibility. So if you want to secure a spot in a cohort, for sure, get it in earlier. The funding streams, it helps to get in earlier only because if you have a very blatant error in your application, we can help you with that. So we can let you know, hey, your quote's wrong, please fix it. If you submit it on the last day and your quote's wrong and this is wrong and that's wrong, we may not have time to help you with that. And we can let you know, but if you can't get back to us quickly enough, like it goes to the review process and you might miss out on that. So I would say getting it in earlier simply gives you a leg up where we can provide you more assistance. So that's something to consider. But you won't be prioritized just because you got it in at 10 a.m. on this day versus that day. So don't worry about that. So your award letter, if you are getting approved, please sign your award letter within 2 weeks. We really need to know that you're accepting this funding and you're moving forward. If you don't sign it, we're kind of left wondering, do you really want the funding? Should we give it to someone else as your priorities change? So please log into the portal, sign the award letter immediately after getting funding, so we're aware that you're ready to go. And you are not approved until you sign the letter. So if you don't sign the letter and you start services, you're not considered to be approved. You really need to sign that letter. If you won't be able to complete your project, so I know we're all startups, things happen, your priorities change, you've pivoted, you've gone to something else, you can't work on this right now, you're too busy, that's no problem. But we do need to know that you're not moving forward. Just please send us an email right away when you know you can't use the funding, because we need to reallocate it to someone else. If we cannot allocate all our funding and pay it out by March 31st, we have to send it back to ISED. So we really want to help as many people as possible, and you can please do your part in that by letting us know as soon as you can, so that we can give that money to someone else and it doesn't get sent back and go unused. So thank you in advance for doing that. And if there are changes, we know too, maybe something's changed, you applied for X and Y and then you pivoted, you want something else. We do need to know what that change is before you go ahead with it, and we do need to approve it. And we need that in writing, and it's on a case-by-case basis. So please bear in mind, when you apply with us, you give us things that you want to do. And our reviewers are looking at those specific things in relation to your IP strategy, and they're approving those activities. and they're approving your company. So when things change, that means like that review process is interrupted, and we do need to re-review it and have IP experts review that for us. So it is actually a lot of work on our end to do that, and we understand and we're open to it, but like also it affects the approval that you received. So we do need that in writing, and we need to approve it before you move ahead. If you move ahead with changes before letting us know, it's very possible we can't pay it out at the end if that wasn't an approved expense. So it's in your best interest, just let us know right away so we can deal with it, and we can let you know, yes, you can go ahead with that. No, we're very reasonable people. We try our best to help, just letting you know. But we also just need that communication open from you. And yeah, for communication, email's great. You can email our general inbox, as I mentioned, then we triage it to the right person. It's the quickest way to reach us. All of us are in there, so it's like much better than emailing an individual, especially if someone's away, etc. And yeah, we can do calls on a case by case too. If you really need to chat with us and things are confusing, we're happy to meet with you. We do just have a super high volume, obviously. And I just want to say the last thing, it's not on here. This is a super competitive program. It's really popular. So I just want everyone to know, if you don't get accepted, it likely has nothing to do with the awesomeness of your startup. You're probably amazing, doing awesome, and your application was really close. We just unfortunately have so much more demand than we have supply to fund. We just can't fund everybody. So please don't feel disheartened if you don't get approved. It's likely just, you know, we had 100 applications or something and we could only approve X amount. So please also feel free to reapply. And if you need help strengthening your application, we also have IP advisors. So you can always talk to Susan, our IP director, or Chang, who's also an IP advisor. Both Chang was a former IP lawyer and Susan is a patent agent. So they're awesome to talk to, and they can maybe give you some tips when you want to reapply. Thank you. Sorry, I talked a little long there. And now Q&A. So we've answered quite a few questions in the Q&A chat, but if you have any more questions, we're super happy to go over them. And I encourage everyone to look at the answered questions in case that might help you as well. Clarify, and I'll just answer this live. Clarify stackability. If you have two different sources of IP, does that mean they still can't cover 100% of the cost and we need to cover our 25% portion? So ISED's requirement is that we see a 25% co-investment from the startup. So we need to see a receipt that you've paid that. So if you are stacking funds with other sources, we still need to see that co-investment. If you're requesting that another source of funding pay that co-investment for you, we would need to review that on a case-by-case basis and receive an exception from ISED. So it's very rare. I'll say, I don't know if we've ever done that, but we can look into it. But we generally need to see. So you could use IP assist funding as well. That's no problem. But that 25% from AIP, we need to see the receipt that you've paid it yourself. Oh, help for copyright. Yeah, we accept copyright for sure. That's an eligible expense. So you don't have to file just patents. You can do trademarks, copyrights. We allow commercialization contracts related to IP, NDAs. There's a wide range of things that we cover. So please check the website for eligible activities. Very welcome, Sarah. I'll turn it back to Chala. So if there's any more questions, I will let Chala answer, but thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Rachel.